I'm Zachary Cowan, the author of the Study Daily books, and thanks for joining me for a look and a study of Official Declaration number 2. This declaration deals with the removal of the restrictions on temple and priesthood based on race. To learn a little bit more about this issue, go ahead and open up to Official Declaration number 2, and there's a heading right there that's italicized. Go ahead, stop your video, and look at that heading and see what you can learn about the history of this issue. Hey, thanks for studying. So you learned some things about this. For instance, that during Joseph Smith's lifetime, people, regardless of race, were baptized into the church and could receive priesthood and temple blessings. But following that, shortly after that, during the Brigham Young administration, there started to be a policy enacted where people of African descent could not receive priesthood or temple blessings. If you want to learn a little bit more, which I would encourage you to do, you need to read the gospel topic essay on race and the priesthood. To find it, you go to your gospel library home screen. You click on the section that says church history, then the subsection that says gospel topic essays, and then race and the priesthood. And you will learn a whole history about this. Some of the reasons that it came about. Because long ago, members of the church were racist. Even though God isn't, sometimes members of the church didn't have the view that we currently have on race and regarding how to treat and take care of each other. And so some of the beliefs and justifications in scripture used for slavery crept into the beliefs and members of the church. And because of this restriction, sometimes scriptures were twisted or emphasized in certain ways, misread, misinterpreted to provide justification for there being a restriction. When those restrictions are lifted, Elder McConkie comes forward and he says one of those ones who was one of the people who did that, he came forth and said, I was wrong. This is a great example of what we learned about last time in Official Declaration 1, that God will allow prophets to make mistakes, but not to lead the church astray. Eventually, he will correct any of those things. And prophets will admit, we've made mistakes and we can do better. And we change and we go forward. And that's what this lifting of the restrictions are. Now let's get to the official things. So there's two different types. When you come to the Official Declaration number 2, you've got a letter on September 3rd, 1978, and it was read during the semi-annual General Conference. Go ahead, pause your video and check that out and look for what it teaches you about what President Kimball and the Quorum of the 12 did to get this revelation. Hey, thanks for studying. So you'll see that President Kimball, he actually received the revelation a year earlier. But rather than just announcing it to the whole world, he wanted unity with the church. See, when President Wilford Woodruff announced the manifesto, initially it caught people off guard. Not all the members of the Quorum of the 12 knew it was going to happen. And even 2 of them later were excommunicated for continuing to practice plural marriage. Well, President Kimball didn't want that. So he took a whole year to prepare the Quorum of the 12 to have an incredible experience, as well as to help them understand and to study that there was no scriptural justification and that all of the things they had thought about why there were priesthood restrictions were inaccurate and were wrong and needed to be corrected. And after that time, they have a sacred experience in the upper room of the temple where every one of them then comes forth and testifies to the world that the restriction is clearly lifted, that this practice, this policy, it's time for it to end. And the blessings not only of priesthood, but of temple are to go forth to people of all race and color. What a cool thing. So now we're at the June 8th, 1978. Here's the second declaration that removed that. As you read these paragraphs, look for what this does. What is removed, what is then enabled, and consider how the people who this restriction would have impacted, how they would have felt as they read it. All right, to give you a little bit better understanding and personal stories from people who lived through the period of priesthood restriction and temple restriction, let's go right here. So you can click on church history, Revelations in context, scroll all the way down. There's the index by section number. Scroll all the way down. Official Declaration number 2. contains several stories about faithful members of the church that really lived through this and also experienced it, and we're grateful. But the Come Follow Me resources takes you to several other really good things. So let's go ahead and find those. We're in December. Official Declarations 1 and 2. Scroll down right before you get to family study. So here's more ideas about family. You have all of these. Learn more about Elizabeth Jane Manning James. She was actually a previous slave who then made her way to Nauvoo and lived with the Smith family. Then you've got Green Flake, another African-American pioneer, and then several stories of people in other countries and how they had to deal with managing the restriction when they learned about the church. The restriction of being able to receive priesthood and temple blessings, and how they approached it with faith. Those are really good. This link hasn't been working for me, but these personal essays by Ahmad Corbett are amazing. You might want to just look them up. You can usually find them on the church newsroom site. Those will change your understanding of the Book of Mormon, because that sacred record approaches faith and race different than any other holy scripture that it is. Really, really good. All right, there's some resources. Enjoy. Thanks for studying. So I hope you got a chance to look at some of those personal essays and the way that this official declaration changed the course of people's lives, and really how they were faithful even during those periods of time when there was restrictions or things they didn't understand. Their faith is tremendous, and it's a great example to all of us. Well, let me tell you this. You live in the time where there are less restrictions than ever before regarding priesthood blessings and opportunities and temple blessings. It used to be anciently that the only people that could hold it were those of the tribe of Levi. They were the only ones that could hold priesthood and go into the temple. And again, the Lord has found ways to expand the blessings of priesthood and temple ordinances to the whole world. And currently, you are living in the most fruitful period of history in all of the world when those blessings are made available. That should tell us something about our right and our responsibility to help take these blessings to the families of all the world. Thanks for trying to do just that in your own life and lives of others. Hey, we'll see you later.